Wolverine, bub. But I'm dying to find out what's inside.
What's going on, everybody? You found Bottom Tier Collector. I am your host, BTC, and I'm bringing you a top tier story from a bottom tier reader. We're now on our next stop in the Wolverine review series, Wolverine issue 5. And since the channel has grown a little bit, I feel the need to describe the series a little bit. So I do comic book reviews on this channel, both old and new. If I choose to do a back issue, something that is considerably old, like Wolverine 5, I tend to do a walkthrough style. So if you don't like your books spoiled, this is probably not the kind of review for you. You've had 35 plus years to read Wolverine 5, so I don't know what to tell you. If you haven't read it by now, you can just follow along with me. If I choose to do more current books, definitely books that are on the shelf, I might do more of an overview so as not to spoil them. My goal in reviewing newer books, especially current publication books, would be to excite you to go grab those books and read them yourselves. But not everybody can afford a subscription to Marvel Unlimited or a Wolverine number 5, or feels the need to collect a Wolverine 5. So that's why I choose to do the walkthrough review style of the old series. We're currently in Wolverine. We're doing the first 20 issues of Wolverine. If you'd like a recap of where we're at, we're currently in the, think of Wolverine 5 as the second issue in a brand new sub-arc of the Wolverine series. So you'll want to see my Wolverine 4 review to catch up. Feel free, if you're new to the channel, to go back at Wolverine 1 and just follow along all the way through till you get to issue 5. All right, let's get into it, guys. Thank you for liking, subscribing, commenting. So we are immediately taken back to the Royal Hotel at the end of where we left off at issue 4 with the meeting between Bloodsport and Roundhouse and the General and his niece, Xian Koiman. I don't know if that's how you pronounce her name. You know, I'm just a Southern Alabamian, you know, with my stinking Southern drawl accent. So just bear with me through some of these names. But we'll just call her Miss Mon for the rest of the issue. And Bloodsport, everybody has seemed to have left the room by the time this issue starts. And we're left with Bloodsport and the scene of Miss Mon having crushed the glass in her fear and frustration for the side. She's been made aware from Patch in a previous issue, I believe issue 4, that sides are taking place in Madripoor, in the Philippines, in Taiwan, in this area of the world, and she needs to decide who she's going to help and which side she's on. So that's why she's frustrated, why she's crushed the glass, and there's blood all over the table. And Bloodsport hasn't left the room yet. He's actually trying to help Miss Mon, but he's being coy. He definitely appears to have an agenda here, and this is where I like Chris Claremont's writing. It's not so much Buscema's art that reveals the mood or the hidden agenda. I feel like Bloodsport has. It's really the writing and the tone of the writing, the dialogue Chris Claremont is using here to reveal the agenda here. Bloodsport tells Miss Mon that it is his blessing and his curse to see the truth within people, and he knows she is lying about telling him everything is okay, it's just a minor cut. And he, oddly, weirdly enough, dabs his finger in her puddle of blood on the dinner table, licks it, and then tells her they are now bound in life and in death. Just an odd scene, and that's really the last we see of Miss Mon and Bloodsport in this issue. We're then taken into the main story of the book, which is Wolverine's journey, obviously. We see Wolverine and his friend Archie, who it's either in issue 3 I believe it's in issue 3 where Wolverine comes to Archie for some help. He says he's got a job for Archie and he would like him to help. Calls him in on a favor, and Archie is an old Vietnam vet that has a history with Patch. Still not very aware of their relationship. It's still kind of a mystery. But that's just how Chris Claremont writes. He doesn't spoon feed us everything at the beginning. He just he unfolds the story for us as we're reading. But yeah, nevertheless, they're riding in this old-ish war-issued airplane. I'm assuming from World War II. And they're making their way, I believe, it's either to where the antagonists are, or they're on their way to see Tiger, who they are helping. It wasn't very clear where they're headed, but that doesn't necessarily matter because something's about to go down. Archie casually asks to go to the bathroom. He leaves Patch with the controls to the airplane, and Wolverine and his animal sense and his sense of smell. He can sense something's up with Archie, the tone of his voice, the way he was shaking, etc., etc. He automatically just knows that he's been in contact with Bloodsport, and we're taken to behind Wolverine's back where Archie pulls open his shirt, has some inner monologue where we discover he's been handprinted by Bloodsport. So he's working for Bloodsport, and he's got this internal struggle going on. He's got the only gun in the plane. He's communicating with somebody. We're not necessarily aware of who he's communicating with. But he pulls the gun out and racks a load in the chamber, and he's just not sure what he's going to do about Patch. And right when he decides to team up with Patch and stick to his word with Patch and help the good guys, that's when a fighter plane from World War II, or maybe even the Vietnam era, not sure, comes blazing into the scene and shoots up the side of the airplane, nearly killing Archie. I don't even think he was injured, but he definitely had to dodge some bullets there. And their plane is crashing, and Wolverine's got the plane in a nosedive trying to avoid this plane. He's trying to land it in an area, that is a good spot to land this plane in, so they're not so obvious that they've been flying around, because Wolverine knows what's going on. They've been tailed. Somebody's after them. And the coolest stunt so far in the entire series, Wolverine maneuvers the plane and maneuvers the enemy fighter into such a spot that he tells Archie to then take over the controls, and he jumps out of the plane and pulls out his claws, and while he's free falling in the air, rips off one of the wings of the fighter plane, chasing them. And Wolverine knows he's got the healing factor, the adamantium skeleton. He knows what's going on. He's not going to break a bone if he hits the ground. It's going to hurt. Wolverine's not invulnerable, per se. It still hurts, but he can heal from wounds. And he's banking on that as he free falls into a giant pond. And once he hits that pond, we are then taken into what's going on with Jessica Drew and Lindsay McCabe. They're taking Tiger, the rival gang leader, to the Colonel Xian Koiman's uncle, the general. Tiger is her rival, and she's been injured from a previous issue, I believe issue 4. And they arrive at what appears to be a lawyer firm or a financial firm or some kind of business. I forget the name of it, but it's got 3 last names, and a gentleman by the name of Chang answers the door. and we get some interesting dialogue between the two. And Lindsay McCabe is gifted a suit that essentially makes her a superhero. It doesn't give her powers, but it grants her the ability to be near invulnerable. It's a metal suit that is fluid like cloth, so it's not heavy, and she can be very mobile in it. And this is going to help Lindsay McCabe not to be such an easy target. She's not going to be such a liability going forward in this series. And we also get a neat scene, and this is something I didn't catch in my first read-through. I had to, in my overview, to kind of help digest and pick out more of the little things that Chris Claremont pieces in these books. Jessica Drew notices a picture of him and Patch, and she asks if that's them, and she wonders how that could be because it's a 19th century 10. She's not very sure how that's possible. They would have to be very old to be in a 19th century 10 and still be alive at, I would assume, 1988. So we're getting some information about Wolverine and that he's been around for a long time. Very interesting little tidbit there that I don't think a lot of people would pick up on, like I didn't in my first read through. And then Tiger's put up, and Roundhouse appears. Busts through the wall. Roundhouse is there. What's going to happen to Chang, Lindsay, Tiger, and Jessica Drew now? If you remember from issue 4, Roundhouse is not somebody that is very weak. He's pretty strong, pretty formidable street level foe. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Roundhouse. But that's really the last we see of Lindsay McCabe and company. We're taken back to Wolverine, who has crawled out of the puddle, and he's lurking as this military operation working for the general is surveying the pond that Wolverine fell into. There's something I didn't pick up at first. Something I had to piece together in my overview. The general sent these are the general's goons. And they sent the battle plane to kill Archie and Wolverine, and now they're searching to confirm that Wolverine and Archie are dead. And Wolverine's got one up on them. As they're searching the pond, Wolverine rises up out of the bush and beats them up and ties them up and hangs them from a tree branch, and then he's off on his way. As more troopers are coming to arrive at the scene, Wolverine, I guess, gets to the back of the line and takes over one of the Jeeps and immediately takes on the disguise of one of the soldiers. And he rides back to the compound in the Golden Triangle, and he punches the transmission of the Jeep and leaves it at the entrance of the base, and it's causing all kinds of issues. The Jeep, it's just a mere distraction for Wolverine to get inside, which is really cool. I thought it was really cool that Wolverine had the foresight to punch that transmission and have it smoke and cause all kinds of distractions so he can slip inside and wreak havoc. And he just starts beating guts, if you will, on everybody. Great action scene. But he doesn't kill anybody. I said he's beating guts, but he doesn't kill anybody. He understands that if he kills anybody, it's going to be easy for these emotionless antagonists to just see a dead body and keep moving, keep trucking along after Wolverine. But if they see an injured soldier, they're more inclined to stop and survey, and that's giving Wolverine time to move from place to place and do what he wants to do. And then Wolverine, I believe, somehow gets out of the base after he's caused a ruckus. the antagonists are packing up their heroin. It's in the middle of the fighting. They're packing up their opium, their heroin. I forget which one it is, and they're trying to hightail it out of there. And before they can get too far, Wolverine steps out of the bush again, lights a cigar in Wolverine fashion, and you're not getting away this time, bub. That kind of deal. I don't think that's word for word, but that's essentially what's going on. And as the soldiers prepare to attack one man, he secretly called in Archie. I guess while we saw the military outfit loading the heroin, Wolverine gave word to Archie to come in and help him out. And of course, that Goonie Bird, as they call it, helps Wolverine out and guns down the entire outfit. They lose all the opium, except for a few members. And the final pages of the book, we see Wolverine and Archie flying into the proverbial sunrise on their way back to Lindsay McCabe and Tiger and Jessica Drew and Chang. And we see the last remaining survivors of the military outfit talking about how they were not killed on purpose, and they're not going to be so merciful next time they see Wolverine. One of those will get him next time, boys, kind of things. So that's the end of the issue. I hope you liked the review. I hope I was coherent. I feel like I struggled a little bit. I was trying to gather my thoughts, and that's just the hard thing about spitballing these reviews and not having the book as a reference. I'd have to gather my thoughts for a second there. Overall, I think this was the best issue I've read so far in Wolverine. I really liked the stunt where he free falls out of the plane and chops up the battle plane, and there's something I'd love to see in a movie, honestly. We get a little bit of tidbits about Wolverine, and maybe he's older than we thought he was. It's just a little clue that I don't know if a lot of people, especially in 1988, would have picked up on. We get a little bit of Bloodsport and Miss Mon, so a little bit of progression there. We get to see that Tiger survived the attacks from issue 4, and they made it to Chang's, and now Lindsay McCabe is going to have a battle suit, which is going to make her less of a liability, like I said earlier. The writing, again, is just so dense. It plays out like a movie. And I've said this for 4 issues now. It just plays out like a Dirty Harry style movie. Very, very classic action packed movie tropes, which is a good thing. I mean that with all respect. I'm really enjoying the vibe, the tone of this story. There is a formula, but that's okay. I don't mind the formula. Wolverine does a lot of reconnaissance work in this series, so he's doing a lot of hiding and coming out from the bushes behind the bad guys. It seems to be kind of the formula, but I'm enjoying it. I think it's cool. This is a side of Wolverine I've never seen before. A Wolverine that's willing to do reconnaissance, that's willing to work in the shadows. Not the Wolverine I'm used to in current continuity, where he, popping the claws and throw me at the Sentinel Colossus, that kind of Wolverine. The fastball special or whatever they call it. This is a different kind of Wolverine from a different time and age, and I enjoy it. I'm having a blast with this series. I don't rate issues. I'll just say this: so far, this is the best issue I've read. A lot more action, a lot less character development, but we did get enough character development to where this isn't a filler. It does progress the story a good bit, and I like where it's going. I'm itching to get into issue 6. Thank you for liking, subscribing, commenting. Stay tuned for Wolverine issue 6 in the future, and until next time.